Hello, beautiful people, and welcome back to the R&D show. We're your hosts. I'm Shad,
I'm Ryan.
and you're tuned into the R&D show. Happy Wellness Wednesday. Hopefully, everybody is feeling good, feeling great on this Wednesday. So Wellness Wednesday, I told y'all before that we're going to discuss exactly what that is. So it's basically a mental health check-in, and we're going to do this with y'all. The R&D show, you beautiful people. So it's a mental health check-in, and if you're watching us from your phone or from a device where you're able to check in using hearts, all you're gonna do is drop down how you're feeling using one of these hearts. So this is what it looks like. So you have green for great, the blue heart for anxiety, the red heart for help me,
The purple heart for okay. The yellow, that's an orange
orange heart,
for, I can't even read that.
blah.
Blah. And the brown heart for sad.
Yeah. So basically you just, use one of these hearts, and it's a mental health check-in, and it's like an easy way to check in with friends, with family, with loved ones, with anybody, just to see how they're doing. And depending on which heart they use, that's how you can start the conversation to check in on their mental health and to see how you can help and or support them in an area. So happy Wellness Wednesday.
Happy Wellness
to
Wednesday.
everybody.
Hope you guys are feeling great. All great.
Definitely.
But be honest and authentic in your feedback about how you're truly feeling.
Yeah, because that's what's important. When you're honest about how you're truly feeling, that's when, people know how to help you and or encourage you, uplift you, and do whatever they have to do to be there for you. And always remember, it's okay not to be okay. As long as you're being honest with yourself, again, that person can step in to help lift your spirits. Hopefully the R&D show lifts your spirits on today and make you feel good. So again, happy Wellness Wednesday. And this was your mental health check-in. So yes. All right, so a few things we want to clear the air about first before we jump into our topics.
Okay.
The first thing would be my voice. This is my real voice, my authentic voice. This is the voice that God has given me, and either you love it, you like it, you hate it, whatever the case may be, this is my authentic voice. And what I do with people that try to criticize me is I use that for good. So kind of what I said whenever someone left a negative comment about my voice, I just pretty much said, this is just confirmation. Thank you for giving me confirmation that I'm doing exactly what I need to be doing to inspire and uplift and encourage, and to just be a voice for our people and for people in general, to speak love, light, and positivity. So thank you for your criticism.
Yeah. Everybody's not gonna love everything about you, but as long as you're being your true self, your most authentic self, that's what matters, and that's what's gonna make people gravitate towards you, towards the R&D show.
Absolutely.
You just being your authentic self and your voice to a lot of people. People love it. So you're always gonna have haters. So you're doing something right when you got haters. So
Absolutely. Unwarranted. But
unwarranted.
love or hate, whatever the case may be, just make sure you like the video and you share it. You know what I mean? So thank you for that. And thank you just for everybody. We always like to dwell in positive spaces, and that's why we, make sure that we comment to everyone and just leave the same love that you guys leave us. So we appreciate it.
Yeah, we definitely appreciate it.
We appreciate it. Next that we want to address is, it's so important to watch the entire video. You know what I mean? You can't base your opinion off of just something that you may have heard that you felt like you did not like because you didn't hear it in the way that you wanted it to be delivered.
Or hear the full context of it.
Right.
You got a snippet of it, but you didn't get everything that was around it that kind of filled in the gaps of the story for you. So
it's very important to for one, open your ear up to listen with your good ear. Also, listening to understand and not to react and respond. And everybody is not gonna use certain type of language that you want them to use when they're discussing certain things. We've already said that we're not here to bash anyone or beat anyone down. And I know that, speaking of Martell, is a sensitive subject to a lot of women, and you're entitled to your stance, you're entitled to your feelings, and we value your feelings, we honor your feelings, and we appreciate your feedback. But we don't want you to think that just because we want him to seek help, that as black men, we are condoning his behavior. You know what I mean? Like, we do not think that what he is doing is appropriate. We don't think that is positive. We don't think that is anything to be celebrated. If anything, if you're really listening to what we have to say, we want better for him.
We want better for him, not just for him, but for being a co-parent, for his relationship with Melody, for his relationship with his kid as a father figure. So we want better for him. We're rooting for everybody. We can still hold him accountable and still root for him to be the best version of himself.
That's right. Because every day above ground is a blessing, and it's another opportunity to get it right. I feel like you have your good days, your bad days, up and down, all around, whatever the case may be. But as long as you have breath in your body, there's still opportunity for you to get it right. And I've said this before, that our backgrounds and our situations and circumstances may have determined who we are, but we're still responsible for who we become. And so he still has time to get it right. And it may not be today, it may not be tomorrow, it may not be next week. But as long as that man is alive and he has breath in his body and he has the full activity of his limbs, God is still giving him another day to get it right. And sometimes patience is a virtue, because change is not going to happen overnight. None of us are perfect, and we've all done things that we're not proud of. But if it wasn't for God's grace and mercy, we would not be here today. You know what I mean? And so we always have to make sure that before we cast stones and to cast anyone to hell, to remember who we are, what we've been through, the things that we've done, and how God has just kept us. Yeah. So I think that's important to remember.
Yeah, how God has given us grace. And along the way, we're going to continue to hold Martell and anyone else accountable.
Absolutely.
On their journey, just as we hope that you guys will hold us accountable on our journey. And if we're wanting love and light for him, does not mean that, we're not going to hold him accountable. Does not mean that we're not Team Melody. It's just that we want the best for everyone.
And the best thing about it is Melody knows herself that we're Team Melody.
Yeah, she knows. She already knows.
Melody already knows that we're Team Melody. So I've already gotten that confirmation. Like, she knows that we're Team Melody, and how we've been rooting for her since day one. So Melody knows this personally. So there is no if, and, or buts about it, that we're on the team of right. You know what I mean? And so, Martell's been doing wrong. And speaking of Melody, have y'all not seen Melody's new pictures? Like,
fire.
One thing about it is,
she's gonna break it.
I can understand why this man is unhinged. Yeah. I can understand why he's so unhinged, because baby girl looks beautiful. Like, she looks gorgeous. She definitely don't look like what she's been through.
No, she has risen above. Like, she is elevated. Like, she has a light about herself. It's one thing about outer beauty, but it's also about inner beauty. And you can feel, you can see that shine, that inner beauty that she has. It's just glowing. It's just further enhancing the exterior. Okay.
Y'all see how gorgeous? Like,
yeah,
absolutely gorgeous. It's just,
she's shining, bright like a diamond.
She's just beautiful. At the end of the day, like, I said this before, you're supposed to use these lessons as a blessing to make you better and not bitter. And that's exactly what we continue to see Melody do, is allow this journey of hers to make her better and not bitter. And she looks amazing, and she's doing amazing, and she's doing some amazing things in the community. She's doing some amazing things just in general. And it's amazing to just be a part of that journey. You know, her millimeters are going strong for her. They continue to uplift her, and yeah, it's just that movement is just so powerful and it's so positive. And so just shout out to Melody Rogers.
Melody Rogers.
Shout
Oh,
out
she
to
will be.
Melody Rogers.
Yes, sir.
We got a Melody Rogers.
Yeah, retrain our brain. It's been hope for so long.
Yeah.
But it's the Rogers that's glowing.
And probably because I just seen, because
Yeah.
I've been so good with saying Melody Rogers, but then it's on some of her socials, it still has the hope. She's working on getting that off of there though.
Okay.
And so shout out to Melody Rogers. We see you, girl.
We see you,
looking
Mom.
good, looking
We
great.
see you,
That's
Mom.
all. Yeah, looking good. All right. So we're gonna talk about something that we already talked about, but we gotta talk about it again because
Okay.
it got deleted. But
Okay. All right.
But there's also, not only that, there's more to the story now.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So we're gonna talk about Monique and her son Shalon. And I think that by now a lot of people have maybe heard the story or seen what's been going on. And so I'll just refresh a little bit. So pretty much Monique went on Club Shay Shay, and you know, she did an interview with Shannon Sharp, and Shannon Sharp brought up her son and just pretty much asked, what's the relationship with your son, with your oldest son? And her response was honest, and she just said, right now, you know, there's no relationship. And from what she was saying, it's due to him and where he's at in his life right now. Like, she's ready and she's open, but pretty much, you know, he doesn't want a relationship with her. Mm-hmm. He's spoken, Monique has spoken on about their relationship plenty of times. And at this point, her son, I think he's in his very early 30s. He went on, he's seen the interview, or maybe he's just seen that clip, and he decided to respond to it. And so in his response, he basically said, to paraphrase some stuff, that both of them have to be willing to do the work. You know what I mean? It can't just be one person that is ready to do the work while the other one is maybe pushing and pulling. You have to be ready to do the work. And he said, faith without works is dead. He said that Monique pretty much loves to say stuff about the universe and praying to the universe, and, you know, baby, the universe is gonna bring us back together. And he's just like, whatever this is, I don't understand it, but she's not willing to put in the work. You know, she's putting these words out there as if she's doing the work, but she's not willing to put in the work. And based off of his experience with her thus far, he's just like, at this point, I don't care to have a relationship with my mom. And he also talked about Sydney, who's Monique's husband, and kind of was just like, you know, and then you have Daddy who does this, this, and this. And it's kind of like the person that puts the battery in her back, I guess, from what I'm understanding. And the young man said a lot of things, but he was very articulate in his stance. He was very still loving and caring. He wasn't disrespectful. To me, he used honesty with compassion. He wasn't angry. He thought about what he wanted to say. And, you know, sometimes instead of you just going on and on and on, once your thoughts start coming out, sometimes it's good to just write them down so that you have everything clear and you're coming from an open and clear heart. Mind, body, soul, and spirit is which is what he did. And so he kind of read everything that he thought out, and it was put together nicely. So then Monique, and it's crazy because people, like you just said, hear what they want to hear, right? Out of all the stuff that he said, once she did her response, because she did do a response video, and she did it with Sydney, her husband, the first thing that they start talking about really is the daddy part. So it's like,
yeah, that's the part that really set her off, probably.
Yeah.
Because that's been a hot topic about her calling her husband daddy. So she's probably was on the defense about it already. So that's the thing that really stuck out to her, regardless of everything else he had to say.
But it's interesting because it's like, that was the most frustrating to her. It's like, look, baby, don't start with this daddy stuff. You already know. about this daddy thing, and you know what I mean when I say he's my daddy, and you knew that you couldn't call him daddy because you knew him as Uncle Sid growing up. You know, when he came into, you know, he was my best friend. You know, he was your uncle, so there's no way that you was able to call him daddy, because he talked about also like he has other siblings, and Monique was just kind of saying that the other siblings get to call him daddy, but he couldn't because that's his Uncle Sid. Growing up, that was his Uncle Sid, and
Did he want to call him daddy? I mean, was that the thing? Or was he even comfortable calling this man daddy that was known as his uncle at the time? Period?
Honestly, I don't even feel like that was a highlight of where he was, what he was saying.
Yeah,
you know
right.
what I mean?
Right.
He was just trying to convey some things, as far as probably one of the reasons why there is a little bit of
tension
in their relationship,
Yeah.
right? Just
Yeah.
a little bit, because he does play a part in it. I mean,
Yeah.
you're a huge part of Monique's life. He
Yeah.
is like, he puts the battery in her back a whole lot. He's also her voice a whole lot too. And so
It's really interesting that you say that, because I see Monique as a strong black woman that doesn't need a battery in her back. Like, she has enough energy. She's willing to be and do whatever she wants to do and say whatever she wants to say. But that she has this man who's, I guess, maybe in a good way, supporting her. Because you can be to the outside world one thing and then be at home a different person. We're multi-dimensional, so I don't want to take that away from her, because sometimes you get tired of leading. You lead in your professional life, and sometimes you want to come home and you want your partner to be able to lead certain things, not, you know, lead all things, but certain things, and be that battery in your back. But I think it's an interesting dynamic to observe, because I wouldn't have expected it from her. Not as bad or as good, it's just something I didn't expect.
And I think a balance is necessary as well, right? Because it can be this and that, but where's the balance at? And so he did most of the talking too. Mind you, Shalon was talking to his mom, and Sydney did most of the talking. And while Sydney is talking, he's trying to defend, you know, their stance and where they're at. And he's like, you know, did he forget to mention that when he needed a car, who was the people that, you know, walked him through it and helped him get a car? Who's the one that's helped him do this and helped him do that? Who gave him money for the baby? Who showed up for the baby? Who's done this? But everything was monetary.
Yeah.
Everything that he was talking about was just monetary stuff. And then they ended up saying that he has a mental illness.
What?
Talking about his mental health.
Okay.
Which,
I mean, that's
is not something that you would want to put out there when this is already such a sensitive subject. He's already sensitive. He's already in this sensitive state, right?
But I felt like this was all about protecting Monique's image.
Absolutely.
And she was not thinking about her child in that moment. And she brought her husband on as backup for support. Not really thinking about, hey, I might need to have this conversation with my son. Yes, Sydney's been present in his life, but the issues between my son and him. And so, like, I need to have that conversation. I think she wanted her husband there for that backup to validate what she's saying, and she wasn't as concerned about her son. And this conversation really could have happened offline. It could have been a personal conversation. She didn't even have to respond publicly. She could have said, baby, I know you're feeling this. Let me have a phone call with you. But she wanted all of us to know about this private issue, maybe because he responded publicly. But, you know, it's not about right or wrong. It's not about, you know, my image at this point. It's about my relationship at this point with my child. That's how I would see it. I'm not concerned about the outsiders, what they perceive. I'm concerned about what my son is feeling and how is the best way for me to connect with him in this moment. Is it publicly with my husband doing all the talking? I don't know. I don't feel like, you know, that wouldn't have been a position I would have taken.
Absolutely. And I think the tough part is she's made it public for a long time.
Yeah.
So Monique has done plenty of interviews and talked about the relationship with her children. Case in point, her first son. And what she said, because she's been honest, she has been honest. She did an interview, and she said when she pretty much walked away from her son. She made a choice. She decided her career over her son, because that's what she was after. That was the space that she was in. She said she didn't want to be a mother. And these are the things that he talked about on his live, is that, you know, she said that she didn't want to be a mother. Mm-hmm. So she said these things, and these things he remembers that experience of her not wanting him. and walking away from him and choosing her career, right? And so what I've come to realize as we get older, it's important for us to understand our parents. And not that our parents need to be perfect, not that they're the worst people in the world from some of their decisions, but understanding brings a little bit of clarity to our experience,
And
you know,
empathy.
and some empathy. And it gives us an opportunity to have more compassion for
Mm-hmm.
them and to empathize in certain areas. And so when I think about Monique's story, Monique has said out of her own mouth that growing up was hard for her. She was molested by relative. I believe it was an uncle or a cousin. She was molested, and so that innocence of hers was taken away as a child. And she went through, you know, some trauma. She went through some traumatic stages of life, starting with that. And then you end up having your own child, your very first child. And a lot of times your first child gets to experience some of your residual side effects, you know, the things that you have not healed, the things that you are still going through. And so you're parenting your first child sometimes through you still being a child yourself, because that baby, whatever happened then, did not get the love, the care, you know, the protection that they needed. The innocence was taken. And so I think about that, and I'm able to have compassion for Monique, for where she was at then, because sometimes our parents can be somewhere then, but they're not there now. You know what I mean? So that's where she was at then. Now, was it still right for her to choose her career over her child? You know, we'll say no, because as a child, we don't get to choose our parents. You know what I mean? Like, you had me, I'm your child, I'm your responsibility. God gave you me as a gift, and you're supposed to take care of that gift. So we don't think that is right that she walked away from him. But understanding Monique and where she was at, you know, in that time of her life, which is probably her 20s, she was chasing her career. She wanted to be famous. She wanted to be successful. But now Monique is saying that that's not the same Monique anymore. Like, she wants the relationship with her child. But then, you know, Shalon is saying that that's not what it is. Because if that's what it is, then she would actively put in the work. And I believe they said that they've been to therapy before, but you can go to therapy, but just therapy won't fix it. You know, you can go and sit in those sections, unpack, but what are you doing once you leave those sessions? What's the work that you're putting into it? Because you still have to commit to change. You still have to commit to taking baby steps to developing that relationship.
Yeah, actions speak louder than words. And just sitting at in a therapist's office is kind of like one of the first steps. But then it's always like there's homework assignments, there's work that you have to do away from there, and there's lessons you have to take from therapy and apply it to your personal life, or else it gets left in therapy. So I hope they continue to do the work. I hope they find some resolution. I hope they come together, because you know it's clear to see that they both still really care for each other. They want a relationship and they love each other, and we're just seeing all this play out in a public forum.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, you know, when you see it play out for the world to see, you're going to have strong opinions. You're going to have a lot of people give their constructive or unconstructive, unsolicited advice, opinions, and perspective. And, you know, you have some men saying, why is this grown man going in here after all these years saying these things about his mom, kind of like grow up. And then you have, you know, certain people calling him certain names and saying certain things, not understanding that he was a child when this happened. And so this was his experience, and it lives in his somatic memory, which is something that is not easily suppressed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because somatic means the body. And what happens with the body during that experience, if it was stressful, if it was traumatic, whatever, it just lives in the body. And unless you've done the work to really heal that, he's going to still feel those side effects of what he felt when he was 7 or 8 or 9, whatever, how old he was when this happened to him, because the work has not been completely done to heal, you know, the damage that's been caused.
Yeah, Eckhart Tolle, who's a great spiritual advisor, calls it the pain body. We have all this stuff that's stored up in us. And if we don't release it, we don't heal it, it will come out at certain times. So it's important for us to just be cognizant of that, and to work through healing that, your pain body, and not respond from the emotions that may emanate from that pain.
That's good. And that's something that sometimes we don't understand because we don't have the education behind it, or we don't have the right language, or we just don't know what it is. And so we expect for people to have this short timeline or whatever timeline to be like, you need to be over it by now. It's been 20 years, why aren't you over it by now? But what you're not understanding is that if you haven't really done the spiritual and mental and emotional work, then you won't be over it.
And sometimes, let's be honest, I don't think sometimes you're never fully over certain things.
Right.
There always can be, like what I say is a reservoir of sadness. Even when someone passes away and you had a great love for them and you've done the work, you've healed, you grieved, there's always going to be this reservoir of sadness. Even with the broken relationship, you could have gone on and moved along and have a whole new life. But I think it's going to be a slight reservoir of what could have been, or the broken relationship. So, and sometimes if you're not careful, they can seep back up, and you can be reacting from that. But I think the more work you do, the more you're able to keep, to fill that space with a lot of love. And that reservoir of sadness gets smaller and smaller, but still, I feel like there's still something there. When I think about the loss of my grandparents and my uncle who passed away, it's been years, but when I think of them, I still have this little hole in my heart, wishing. And then to have a parent, who's living and not to have that relationship, I think there's always there's this little piece of hope that you want to have a relationship with your mom, especially when your mom was active in, your life as you grew up. May not as active as you wanted them to be, but she's still physically here and she plays some type of role. I mean, I think there's always a longing to have that parent's love, and if you can make it work, you want it to work out.
Absolutely. And again, understanding their story, their history, is important for us to have that compassion and to empathize, but still hold them accountable, because you can still hold your parents accountable, but it also, you get to release yourself at some point. You can't keep holding yourself hostage and thinking that you're holding your parent hostage too when they're living their life. Now, if both of you have decided that, hey, I've made peace with where we're at, and with that, I wish you the best. There's nothing but love and light, and I'm just moving on with my life and you're moving on with your life, then that's a decision that's been made. But forgiveness is for you at the end of the day. Forgiveness is so that that person does not get to live rent-free in your head. Mm-hmm. And clearly with both of them, there's something that's still there. But both, again, parties have to be able to do the work. And as this young man said, I feel like maybe he has been willing to do the work, but he wants his mom to choose him. Yeah. Because even though he is grown, he still feels like she has not chosen him. And until the day she chooses him, that void is not going to be filled. The work is not going to be accomplished. You know what I mean? There's not going to be healing there, because choose only me at this point. And I think that should have been the response. The response should have been, I hear you, son. I receive it. And I'm telling the world, I choose you. What do we have to do to make this work? This is from my heart. What can I do? Where are you? Let me get on the first plane to get to you. Whatever the case may be, to make that work, because he's not asking you and Sydney. He's asking for his mother to choose him. And you can feel that, especially in, he came back and did 2 more videos.
Okay.
And of course his response at first was just like, she did exactly what I thought she would do, whatever the case may be. But then he came back and did another video and he was so emotional. He talked about his daughter and how his daughter reminds him of his mom, and reminds him of how hard he's seen his mom get to where she is, how bad she wanted it and how hard. And he talked about how hard she worked when she hosted the BET Awards that year, and she had to do she did the Beyonce tribute. And he was so young, and he talks about just how resilient she was and just her work ethic and how happy she was in just that time, and how it was just something that his daughter did that sparked that memory. And he got so emotional, and pretty much to sum it up, he just pretty much said that he wants a relationship with his mom. He wants to mend that relationship. He wants that relationship.
It's amazing how vulnerable he was. I didn't see it, but what you're saying, he was extremely vulnerable. It seemed like he's been vulnerable along the way, but even more so in this moment about, you know, his relationship with his mom and his longing for that relationship. You know, I'm interested to see how Monique responds, you know, because does she have the capacity to respond? You know,
Well,
because, you know, in the way that he responded, because that could have been her first response was, baby, I love you, I'm sorry. And she could have been the vulnerable one. But it seems like in this instance, the child was being the teacher. You know, the child was giving her permission to be vulnerable if she's capable. I don't know what she's capable of. She's been through a lot, a lot of trauma, as you mentioned, as a kid, and maybe she still harbors something that she's not able to really open herself up. But has she responded? And what has that response been?
has she responded?
Why you? What? What? Oh Lord. Oh
Well,
Lord.
she has responded
Oh wow.
in a
Okay.
way.
Okay.
So she's on tour right now with Cat Williams.
Hmm.
And she took the opportunity. This was her story, and I don't know if this is true, but she said that she was in the airport in Newark, New Jersey. And she said an old woman, maybe around 70, 80 years old, came up to her and pretty much told her, I heard about, I seen what was going on with you and your son. And so this is what Monique is telling the audience. And she's like, y'all know what that lady said to me? She said, F that.
Oh Lord, she should have said fix it. Fix it, Monique. Fix
But
it.
this is what she's saying.
Oh
But
Lord.
even the way that the delivery is just, is this the time to
To
use
even say that.
someone's trauma for jokes?
Jesus.
You know what I mean?
It
It's
just
just,
tells me she may not have the capacity to go there. And you know, and the things that he's
but
saying.
imagine how he feels with it. Like he just poured his heart out the
Yeah,
other day.
what it tells me, she does not have the capacity to go there. She is protected. She has a layer of protection that would not allow her to really feel what she's feeling. She has to use a joke in a way to deal with it. This man opened up his heart, and if you can't, in return, this child that you put on the back burner for years opened up their heart, and if you cannot reciprocate that, that means, baby, you got more work to do.
Absolutely.
You got more work to do, and that's okay, but you got to do the work.
And don't use him as the butt of the joke. You know what I mean? Let's not do that. Let's not use that. He's sincere in where he's coming from, and he's really hurt. You know what I mean? Like this child, even though this is a grown man, it's your child that's speaking. It's your child that's emotional, who is literally hurt, and you get on stage, and you choose to use this in your stand-up routine. I just don't think that was in good taste.
No, not at all. I'm disappointed to hear that. I'm not disappointed. I'm sad. I'm sad to hear that because what he wanted in that moment was probably for her to respond like, "Son, I love you. I want a relationship with you," not to be the butt of somebody's joke. It's hopefully, just like we said with Martell, hopefully she'll do the work. She obviously has some work to do. I'm sure her son still has some work to do. We all have work to do, and it's up for us to commit to doing our work to continue to evolve and to heal those things. But that was a disappointing.
Yeah, it's I seen that today, and I thought about.
And you don't listen to what everybody else said. Like this woman, who knows? You know, who knows what she dealt with her own kids. She's speaking from her experience, and this is one person. And even if somebody did come up and say that to her, like she shouldn't have used it as a joke.
And being a man myself who's longing for a relationship with like a parent, I know how that feels to want something and you're fighting for it and the other person isn't. And then at some point you come back around to it and you let down your guard again and give them that opportunity and they still don't walk through that door after you open it. I know how that feels to consistently and continuously be let down, whether you've decided to, just lock that door and the door is closed, but then you're like, I really want my parent in my life. So then you come back around, and for them to just do the same, make you feel the same way that you felt when you were 7, when you were 8, and continue to not choose you. You know, at some point you get tired of chasing someone who's just not choosing you, because you're just hurting yourself over and over again. It becomes a cycle of hurt.
Whew. Oh, man, I don't even know what to say, because I feel like I would be off that tour. I would be off the tour, but my child would be a focus.
Absolutely.
You know, but we don't know the full story. We don't know the ups and downs. We don't know the intricacies. We don't know what they've gone through back and forth. So we're just talking from what we see out in the public, and you know, we don't have the full context of everything. But from what we can see, the information that we have, it seems like, you know, Monique has some work to do.
She got some work to do, and there's 3 sides to every story. There's one side, the other side, and the truth. And when you hear all sides, it's up to you to kind of differentiate where the truth lies. You know, the truth is always going to be somewhere in the middle, because a lie don't care who tells it. Anybody can tell a lie or a rumor, so that don't even matter. But there's some truth in there, and based off of the recent antics, is like what he's saying has some truth and validation to why he feels the way that he feels, based off of
her actions. Yeah. Based off her actions, not off of anything that he said. It's her response.
Yes. So, you know, we're sending love and light to them.
Yes.
We wish them the best.
We hope to have a positive update next time around.
Absolutely. Yeah. Because now that it's out there for the world to see, because before it was just Monique talking, now that her son has come to the light, everybody is just like picking a side at this point.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's about picking sides. It's about rooting for what's right. And in this case, we want that family dynamic back. And the only way to do that is for both of them to want it together and to do the work to heal, to get there. So we're rooting for both of them to get off of social media, and just do the work. You know, her to not use this as a stand-up comedy on a tour for it to play out to just hurt him over and over again. But hopefully that's her last time repeating that on stage, and you know, she'll just completely delete that out of her routine. I think that's important.
Sometimes people use laughter in the place of crying, laughter
but at the expense of like your child is weird.
Yeah, at the expense, and maybe in the moment she's not even thinking of it that way. She's trying to make light of the moment,
right,
and make a joke of the moment. And sometimes that could be people's defense mechanism, and it may be her defense mechanism.
Yeah. I mean, you could be right about that, but then I think about how serious she is about her story when it comes to Oprah Winfrey and Tyler Perry and Lee Daniels. That wasn't laughing.
Yeah.
You know, she's been on every platform pouring her heart out as to how they the reason why she's been blackballed and all the rest of these things. So it's like, if you take that so serious, this should be top priority. You know, you choosing your child to be top priority on your list of things to do. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, I agree with you on that.
You know,
let people pick and choose.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, love and light to them, and hopefully, you know, they get it right.
Yes, sir.
So that they can be an example to other moms and dads that are out there with strained relationships, and they can make it right. You know,
we're rooting for you all.
For y'all, definitely.
Yeah.
Moving on. So we had some people that wanted us to talk about, I guess, in the court case with Martell and Melody. I guess Martell asked the judge, or made a statement, that in order for his children to be on TV to film on Love and Marriage Huntsville, he has to be able to use corporal punishment on them.
Corporal, like whipping, body, like, is that what that means?
But
like,
that more than whipping.
Corporal punishment,
like extreme punishment. Like,
why is he asking for this? Like, what is he trying to gain? Why is he utilizing that as a negotiation point? Why is it so important to him? Does he feel the kids need this? There's other ways to punish the kids. Like, it seems like just him being another agent of chaos. Like, just something is
ticky boom boom up here, because, excuse me, and I guess now I'll get, this is allegedly that this is what sparked the mental evaluation and the
Yeah.
reason why now he is being forced to be, to do the work.
It's I figured it stemmed from something to do with the kids. Like you have to go to do mental health therapy. It's not necessarily for your relationship with your former wife, but it's probably more to deal with you trying to have some level of custody of the kids. Like
Right.
we need to know that you're going to be a responsible parent. You're going to handle them well. So I'm not surprised at that.
But that's just, and of course, you guys
Not
are asking
surprised.
how we feel about it. We don't agree with that at all. You know what I mean? Like that's no
I
form
think
of discipline.
corporal punishment. That's what I'm trying to grasp
Like,
in my
why would
mind.
you even
It
use
sounds like something like the state would use on someone,
on a
like
prisoner?
on a prisoner, like
Exactly.
like. So I was confused. Why would you want to ask for that for your children that you love?
Are you
So
having a mental breakdown moment and this just came out your mouth? Like it doesn't make any
it
sense.
sounds like
And
he
even
maybe
him talking about how he, we talked about this in the previous video, how hard he was beating Little Martell.
oh
And just and these are out of these are words from him. You know what I mean? Like
this
he's
man
taking
seems
out
like
stuff
he's on
on
the
him.
verge of a mental breakdown. He's realizing the magnitude of the things that he has done, and he does not know how to deal with it. It's coming out in so many ways that are destructive to him and destructive to his family. And I'm glad someone ordered him to go do the work.
Absolutely.
And hopefully he'll do the work that needs to be done for the sake of, for most important, the sake of himself and the kids. Melody, she's fine. She feels like at this point, I feel like she feels like she's dodged a bullet.
Yeah,
Like,
she has to feel so much relief that she bet on herself.
Yep.
Because that's the problem with a lot of people that get in these situations and they feel like this is as good as it gets, this is it. But she bet on herself and she's winning even more without him than what she was before.
And that's probably pissing him off even more.
Of course it is. That's what I said. I look at them pictures and I'm like, I can understand why this man is out here unhinged, but that don't mean that you get to be unhinged. That's no excuse. That just means take it as a loss. Suck it up, cupcake. Take it as a loss because you wasn't acting like this the season that you were filming and you were with Shari. He was not acting like this.
Yeah.
He was, feeling himself. And I mean, he was feeling himself, but that relationship has ended and now everything is sinking in. The actions, the decisions, the choices that you made, now you have to live with it.
Yeah.
Now you have to sit in it. And that's the hardest thing to do with a lot of people is to sit in the choices that they've made. Because I can do something that's minimal and I'm sitting in there like, dang, why did I do that? Like, I wish. But then you get to a point where you realize, okay, this is just this. I cannot live here. I can choose to stay here. I can start here, but I don't have to stay here because I'm still running this race. You know what I mean? There's still a race to run. But for him, he was distracted. And a lot of times distractions keep you from sitting in what you've done, which then is supposed to force you to start the healing process because you're going to be vulnerable to what it is. And if you're vulnerable to what it is, you're going to be emotional. You're going to hurt. You're going to feel. But that's what starts the healing process of growth. He hasn't had time to do that because he was distracted doing this, that, and the other. And then when that didn't work out, he became distracted by trying to ruin Melody's life. So it's like he really hasn't had that time to just sit in the mess that he made. And now we feel like that's probably what's happening, which is why he's spiraling because he doesn't know how to control the situation. He felt like he had everything, under control. But now that it's out of his control and she has bodyguards and, like there's a lot that's going on that's in place to protect her and there's nothing that he can do about it, so it's driving him crazy. But this is his wake-up call. Yeah. You're still young because it's not like he's like this old man. Like you still have a lot of life in you and you still have a chance to get it right. You know what I mean? And I think that he could be a testament for a lot of people to just be like, okay, I see how he was able to overcome this. That's an amazing testimony, but he has to do the work.
He has to do the work. He has to accept responsibility, and then forgive himself.
Absolutely.
Forgive himself.
That's the first step.
And let go of guilt. Let go of any guilt that he has. so he can, because sometimes people will say guilt is a wasted emotion. Who does it serve? I mean, sometimes guilt can be a catalyst, but there is a take on it that guilt's a wasted emotion. But it's more important to do the work than to sit around feeling guilty to overcome, whatever you're feeling.
Because imagine if we've all, at this point of our life, we've all been in relationships that haven't worked out. Imagine if we all just stayed there in that moment. That's so unhealthy, and it will drive you crazy because you felt that heartache, you felt that pain, you felt whatever that was. Imagine if you just decide to live there. It will eventually drive you crazy, because it's not healthy for you. And we have to always remember that, yeah, we feel like our heart was broken, but God is such an amazing God when he decided to design the heart, because the heart is made out of muscle. And so what happens to muscle when it tears and it breaks?
It grows back stronger.
It grows back stronger. You just have to allow that time. You have to give yourself the time and the patience, because your heart becomes stronger. As it grows back stronger and it mends and it comes back together, it gets so much more stronger, and you become stronger mind, body, soul, and spirit. And you know what not to do next time. You know what to look for. You know more about yourself and the parts that you played in situations, because everything isn't about somebody else. You know what I mean? It's important for us to take responsibility and be accountable for the parts that we've played in things. We can't always point the finger. So it helps you to grow into a better version of yourself, this next version. And he still has an opportunity to be a better version of himself, but it's going to take some time and some work. And another thing, they're also saying, our lovely millimeters have been keeping us updated with a lot of things, was also saying that I guess he's not really filming.
Really?
That maybe he's a friend of the show right now, that he is on a pause or a break, which is great. If that's true, that is great news, because mentally he's just not ready to be in that space. And I'm pretty sure Melody probably has in a contract she don't want to film at him at all. I think we're over that storyline. I feel like we want to see her in this new light as Melody Rogers. Melody takes the single life, dating and time with her kids and her businesses and developing, her relationships and friendships and, seeing those things play out. I think we're a little over the back and forth and the tug of war of her and Martell. It's been so many seasons.
Yeah, I think so. I hope that she is willing to show that she's been apprehensive to show like the life outside of Martell and the drama, showing more of that, like her dating life. She's kind of kept things under wraps,
which I can understand.
Yeah,
when you're dealing with somebody somebody that has literally stalked her when she's on dates, which is weird, and has gone out his way to cause drama. If he finds out she's dating somebody, I could understand her keeping that very private to herself.
But we definitely would love to understand that as well, but we would love to see her more on that journey.
Yeah, just flourishing and thriving and just being happy. And we don't want to take some time. So we're not, we don't want to rush that process. I think that there's so many other things to see her do that would be so fun and love and light, because there's so many levels to her. She's such a dynamic woman and well-rounded. So we'd love to just see this story play out, and not so much the Martell drama of it all. Yeah. So that's what we got. We want to come in and give y'all this Wellness Wednesday video. And again, just in case you missed it, we want to make sure that you let us know how you're doing on Wellness Wednesday, which is the mental health check-in. You just let us know if you're doing great. Use the green heart. If you have anxiety, the blue heart. You need some help, the red heart. If you're doing okay, the purple heart. Blah, the orange heart, or if you're sad, the brown heart. The thing about it is, whichever heart that you use, it's important because you're being honest with yourself and you're giving yourself permission to own whatever emotion and or feeling that you're having right now. And not only that, we're such a loving community of people at the R&D show. Maybe someone to chime in and, give you words of encouragement or say something to make you feel better, or Maybe you need help in a certain area or you need some advice, whatever the case may be. This is what the mental health check-in is about, because when I ask how you're doing, I want the long version, not the short version, because I care that much. And that's how much we should care about each other.
Amen.
So God bless everyone. And thank y'all so much for tuning in to the R&D show. Just be sure to like this video, share this video, comment on this video, and subscribe to the R&D show, and spread the word on your social medias. Let people know that R&D show got something good going on over there. 2 black men doing it in a positive way. So thank y'all again. God bless y'all. Peace.